Tell me that you turned down the man who asked for your hand, 'cause you're waiting for me.
Ed Sheeran is a very fuzzy British singer, a soul pop kind of hybrid. I like to think of him as if Justin Timberlake and Jason Mraz had a fuzzy little baby.
Ed Sheeran is a red-headed British singer-songwriter who, with this album, actually made a pretty decent step forward in terms of career longevity.
He kind of came into the pop world as this like modern folk guy. And, you know, after Mumford & Sons and like that whole movement, you were kind of like, oh, do we need another folksy guitar playing dude? And he's incredibly talented. His guitar skills and his, I think as a lyricist, he's brilliant.
But he was this guy who was a busker. He was that guy that annoys you in the subway. But then it was pretty obvious from the beginning with him that he writes hooks really well and he's a really gifted songwriter. And I think to be anointed by Taylor Swift the way that he was when she brought him on tour, when you get that Taylor Swift stamp of approval, that's a huge opportunity, but it also means you need to step up and sort of fulfill it. And I think he did that.
'Cause you were the only one.
One was a very safe first single for X because it definitely was in the vein of what he was doing on his first album.
I think One is something that Grammy voters love because it kind of shows him off as a singer-songwriter. It's really bare, and it really showcases his talents as a singer.
Sing is one on the album that sort of reminded me of Justin Timberlake, particularly in the Justified era. It's got heavy drums, drum kick to it, and also an acoustic guitar.
Sing, particularly with it being a Pharrell song after Pharrell has come out of his best year ever, was a smart decision for Ed Sheeran in terms of edging up his sound a little bit, trying to get out of the acoustic thing that people know him for. And it was definitely a very catchy, huge single. It sounded very much like a Justin Timberlake song.
I saw someone tweet that Sing is the song that Justin Timberlake wished that he had come back with.
Don't is a surprisingly barbed song to come from him, you know, because he's all about, sort of smiley and simple and feeling good, you know, not necessarily lyrically, but the songs are generally fairly, positive sounding, and that was just sort of like, whoa.
I definitely think that the Ellie Goulding rumor with Don't sort of was a clever publicity angle for Ed Sheeran.
That's Ed Sheeran putting it all on the line, and I don't mean just his own emotions about what he went through in that moment, but he was pretty forthcoming about what it was about, and who it was about, and which is a big thing to kind of do in pop music these days, to kind of air someone else's dirty laundry, but at the same time, like, dude got hurt, and this was kind of his, like, F you.
That's the prerogative of an artist, which is kind of the awesome thing about being a songwriter, is when someone does you wrong, you can shame them in a song and also make a lot of money off of it.
Darling, I will be loving you till we're 70.
But then he could turn around and do a song like Thinking Out Loud. That's a beautiful love song. It's going to be played at weddings for decades to come.
I think that with that video, Ed Sheeran is growing into himself a little bit more, and we see on the tracks he's a little bit more open about his romances, and I think he wants us to look at him in a different way. He admits on the album, he has a great little rap about, I'm not the most handsome pop star, nobody wants to see me with my shirt off. He knows what he is, and he knows what his strengths are, and I think he just wants the world to see that he does have a lot of strengths, even if you don't see him as sort of the leading man.
So honey, now
I think the fact that you've got huge A-list names like Pharrell and like Rick Rubin, wanting to be involved with an artist like this is a huge endorsement. And a huge endorsement not just of popularity. I mean, those guys can pick and choose who they work with. I think that means there's something that's interesting about the work that he's doing. There's some other potential. There's something else that they see that they can do with him.
You write songs that are really smart, and they're earnest without being cheesy.
The Venn diagram for, stuff kids like and stuff their parents like is kind of like this, and Ed Sheeran, makes this happen.
right where